One of the most important and interesting frameworks that I've discovered in recent life is called Ikigai, which is a Japanese framework that comes along in lots of different philosophies, including the philosophy, say, of Dharma in Buddhism. But what is it? It's about what's the best way to lead your life, and that's what I wanted to share with everybody today. The most common place to end up on in this Ikigai framework is not actually Ikigai itself, not complete satisfaction, but in profession or vocation. That's because in our societies we tend to place a lot of emphasis on earning power. Profession, which in my experience is an extremely common place to end up, is actually quite a poisonous place to be. It's all well and good at the beginning of your career, you're good at something, you're getting paid for it, that feels fine. But over longer periods of time, the absence of love, and in particular meaning, right, the feeling that society needs what you are doing, that can be extremely corrosive to your ability to continue to work. And it's in that profession box that you see a lot of burnout. Vocation is slightly better because at least you can hang on to there being an intrinsic meaning or need for the services you're providing. But in any event, in a society that's increasingly trending towards Daichuan, those two boxes become very tough because you're missing a very important aspect, which is that you need to like what you are doing. Interestingly, the relationship between salary and satisfaction is extremely non-linear. Many social studies have revealed this fact. And what I mean by that is that you clearly need to clear a certain threshold to be happy, but people's dreams of having extraordinary wealth do not translate directly into happiness. And in fact, in an American study, it was found that beyond around about $70,000 to $90,000, depending of course on your state, additional dollars over that amount had a very diminishing return to overall levels of satisfaction. And ironically, past a certain point, there's an inverse relationship between earning and satisfaction. Why is that? Because people who place too much emphasis on the earning box, on the earning circle, they're the kind of people who are extrinsically rather than intrinsically motivated. Now, I talked about that in a previous video, but people who always look for external validation, whether it be by money or promotions or job titles, will always have people who they can negatively compare themselves to. Extrinsically motivated people who are very focused on that earnings box, they tend to have much lower levels of life satisfaction. So if you think you're at risk of being there, I strongly encourage you to find intrinsic motivation. In other words, move yourself up. Make the I love what I do circle a much more important part of your career decisions. So look, it's all very well me saying this, and many people would quite validly come back and say, well, you know, there aren't many jobs that I love, or how on earth am I meant to do this in practice? Well, I think there are two sets of people, right? The first set of people is you're just a student or you haven't started out in life yet. Then you can use this framework to plan your path more carefully, or at least more carefully than, for example, that I did, where I only focused on what I was good at and what I get paid for. Please include the other two boxes. What does society need? What do I love? And try and reach a compromise between all four, rather than giving undue emphasis to one single one, typically salary. Another group of people, though, that might find it more difficult are people who are already in work. Because it's not so easy if you have responsibilities in a family to say, I'm going to quit everything and then I'm going to just go and try and find something that I love and that can do all four things and achieve Ikigai. You might think this is pretty unrealistic. From my perspective, though, there are things that you can do within your present framework that allow you to achieve or at least get closer towards that ideal state. I'll take my own example. I used to be a lawyer in London. I was quite good at it, I got paid for it, but I actually struggled to find meaning in it and I didn't really love it. So how did I try and approach that problem? Well, I actually asked to be transferred over to China because I do love China. I find the Chinese language very interesting, and I found that when I injected those elements into that job, I actually found a lot more meaning and a lot more love, and therefore I got closer to Ikigai. What I'm saying is that there are certain moves that you can make within your present constraints to inject a little bit more of that something that might move you at least a little bit closer to satisfaction. At that point, I could have just asked for a salary raise, I could have stuck it out for a promotion, thinking that a more senior job title or more money would have solved all my problems. It so rarely is the case. The Ikigai framework you can use as a diagnostic. Which bit are you lacking? Because the bit that you're lacking is causing you the true pain, and it might not necessarily be the obvious stuff, like getting a promotion or a raise. It might be the case that what you lack is love or purpose, and in that case, the moves you need to make are very different from those that are commonly prescribed.